Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and Tech Advisor Live video interview. Today I'm joined by Joe Thomas. He's the Global Analytics Evangelist at Certinia, formerly Financial Force, and which, among other things, is using AI to help companies improve their cash flow forecasting capabilities. Joe, welcome to the program.
Why, thanks, Alex.
Thank you for taking the time. Now, Joe, you've just been hosting a roundtable session at the Data and AI Summit 2024 in New South Wales by Forefront Events to underscore your pragmatic AI approach. But before we get there, can you please recap Certinia for us? Because as I can see from your site, it's much more than just cash flow forecasting. And can you please explain how long the company's been working with AI?
Sure. So Certinia is a platform for service delivery businesses. We deliver software to run your accounting and billing, but more importantly, that service delivery, the resourcing, the project management, those elements, everything that you need to actually deliver a service to a customer. We live on the Salesforce platform, so we take advantage and have taken advantage of a lot of the AI work that Salesforce has done, particularly the ML side of the house, Einstein Discovery. We've been utilizing the technology internally since 2017. I live in San Francisco. This is not my first AI rodeo. I think this is my fifth AI hype cycle. So and they're coming faster and faster. So we went through one 2017, 2018, at least in the Bay Area, mostly machine learning driven. Kind of saw the trough of despair as people did not get the business benefits that they thought they were going to get. Gen I has sort of brought it back. I'll say that we're the exception. We very much changed business behavior from insights that we gained through our use of machine learning in terms of developing an ideal customer profile, learning about what drove customer churn, and finding out things about how to improve our actual project delivery. So we've been at this a long time. I spent 25 years at Oracle before joining Certinia. So Oracle had some thoughts in that space as well. Not as well defined as they deliver now, but I've been in this space a long time.
Yeah, there's no question that machine learning and algorithms and all the rest have been spoken about for years, taken advantage of for years. I mean, Apple has been studiously avoiding the term AI until about this year. I mean, we're going to see a big push from them. And I mean, we're now in this generative AI era, which is the latest hype cycle, as it were, and it's the one that really has been delivering. So, how do customers work with the Certinia platform? Are they able to converse now in plain English coupled with the dashboard of information, or is there a different way?
Yeah, two broad streams, right? The first one is that sort of generative AI piece, and that's actually relatively new for us. We're using that to do things like the project summary meeting that most companies have on a Monday when they decide, hey, what's the project status and where are we in a project, and the sales to service handoff. We're using Einstein Copilot, that's Salesforce's. I think everyone has a Copilot now, so yeah. Salesforce has their own version. We're using that to do things like generate the project summary, show me what risks might be surfacing off of the new information we've got. More importantly to us, though, is embedding AI and machine learning right in the service delivery processes. You mentioned cash flow forecasting. I think AI is really helpful there. There's a lot of signals you get from your front office pieces. Any interaction that your front office people are having with a customer, those are very telling signals. Obviously, there's back office signals as well that you can combine around usage and telemetry and those sorts of pieces. But that's really where we see the pragmatic side. I think having a new chatbot or ChatGPT summarizing pieces are nice to have, but they don't move the needle the way that better cash flow forecasting, margin improvement, improving your staffing, and all understanding how can I arrange my talent pool, and when should I be hiring them for what skills. I think those are the pieces that services companies are really looking at.
Now, one of the things you mentioned when you first started describing Certinia was how you've used your own tools to improve your own business. So how have you used your own platform to improve your operations? And that must also be coming down to all the things you just mentioned, hiring and cash flow and all the rest.
So we alpha everything on ourselves. So our ideal customer profile is us, right? A software company that has embedded services. The second other piece is a straight professional services organization. So we understand these pains. And like I said, if we don't see value in it, we think that maybe customers won't as well. So there were things that our challenge when I joined in 2017 was really around customer churn. I don't want to say how bad the number was, but it was bad. And we needed to address it, and we needed to address it quickly. And we had some hypotheses. I mean, you can think of your own sort of business. And one of our hypotheses, for example, was that customers that were late in paying probably were customers that were going to churn. Well, when we actually did the analysis, 4 out of 5 customers of us that churned or we didn't retain after 3 years were actually timely in their payments. So if we would have just gone with a standard sort of common sense, we would have been wrong 4 out of 5 times. We would have applied a lot of resources in the exact wrong way. One of the other great things that we did was it actually helped us hone what our ideal customer profile was. We were selling to a lot of people that were not the right people to sell to. We were selling to multi-level marketing organizations. As you might guess, they have a lifespan, and it does not play nicely to a lifespan of a software as a services company. We were selling to for-profit education companies, places that just, they were willing to buy our software. We had to do a lot of customization work. We had to do a lot of expensive hand-holding. It wasn't actually profitable to us. And in the end, we couldn't retain them. So a lot around ideal customer profile, customer churn, and business optimization. We learned some really interesting things. For example, one of the things we learned that starting a project within a month of local summer. So I'm a San Francisco boy. That's going to be May. Here in Australia, that's going to be November. Starting a project within a month of local summer made a project take between 5 and 8 weeks longer. If you add 5 to 8 weeks to the average Certinia implementation, we saw a material increase in churn rate 3 years later. So we were able to sit there, and that forced us to create things like our Smart Start program, our Accelerate program, what we now call Mission Control, where we're getting people up and running very quickly with minimal customizations out of the box quickly. And we've seen actual business benefits to that. And it was really the analysis that helped us decide that. Now, that'll also take me down another story. I actually hate the term AI. Well, I shouldn't say that. I hate it as artificial intelligence because it's neither. It's neither artificial, it's real, but it's not intelligence. It's math and horsepower. I like augmented insight. One of the things that we had to, and the analogy I always use is the Terminator is AI, right? It's going to come and steal all our jobs and shoot us all. And we've all seen that, right? Skynet is based in Sunnyvale, 20 miles south of where I live. Yeah. And should have happened already, and we're always on the lookout. I don't like the Terminator as the analogy. I like the Tony Stark Iron Man suit. Tony's a smart guy. Tony's got a lot of money. Tony can do a lot of things. But what he can't do is fly or shoot repulsors out of his hands unless he has the suit. And the suit is really that augmented insight. And that's how we like to think about AI, not as artificial intelligence, not replacing people, but letting humans do things, handle volumes, velocity, variety of data in a way that no human can actually do. And so maybe I'm jumping the gun on questions and that sort of thing, but that's at least my mindset. And I like to think our mindset at Certinia. We want to make people better. We don't want to replace people.
Yeah, look, it's been quite a concern. People are worried that AI is going to take jobs. And I've had this discussion with a number of people, and most people are actually quite strident in saying, look, AI is meant to be your co-pilot, your assistant, your helper. It's meant to be your friend, not your master. We're not supposed to be the pets of AI. You're supposed to use it to augment ourselves. And
do things you couldn't do on your own.
Exactly. And I was just watching a video that was of a young bearded Steve Jobs, and he was talking about this in 1981, probably not far from where you live in and work in in California, in San Francisco, and I love to visit San Francisco. I go there quite often for AMD and other events. But it was just interesting to hear him talking about how, once again, AI and technology is meant to help, get rid of those repetitive tasks, meant to automate those tasks and allow humans to be more creative at a higher level. And that's what technology has always done. So I like the idea of augmented intelligence.
And maybe it's not coming up, but think about this device, the phone that we all have.
Yeah.
There's AI in every bit of that. And think of I look at pictures, film of me and my parents going on vacation in the 70s, and just the gear we were carrying, right? Maps and physical cameras and radios and guidebooks and all the
compass.
A compass. It's amazing to think.
Yeah.
Or other examples, I was watching the X-Files with my children, right? A show that I loved I wasn't quite that young. I was an adult when that came out. 90% of the X-Files get solved by a smartphone. It's like, oh, look, camera, I've got it. Alien, hey, we're talking. Those sorts of pieces. It's amazing. And Steve, I have to tip my hat to Mr. Jobs. My first job out of school was for Apple. It wasn't the Jobs years. I had the John Scully years. So it was, I wish I could have worked. Yeah.
Now, one of the questions I always like to ask, because I like to think that your customers are your best R&D division. So have there been any great ideas from customers? And has the AI or the augmented intelligence that you're using suggested any features that you've gone, yeah, let's make that a standard part of our repertoire?
Yeah, we see that a lot, actually, more with analytics, because I just think it's more mature. We have a very lean product management organization. What we have is a set of very vocal customers. So we're able to build out dashboards and data sets pretty quickly. And we do that based on customer demand. Customers came to us. Cash flow forecasting is a good example of that, right? Obviously, people know we need that, but you need it a way quicker. I can give you the Certinia example. We used to do cash flow forecasting once a week. We did it every Friday. We did it Friday afternoon. Then this weird thing called COVID hit. And I remember our CFO contacted me and said, hey, you know how we do cash flow every Friday? It takes about 2 hours. We're going to start doing it sub-daily. And it can't take 2 hours. Can you do anything around analytics to build that out? We had customers talk to us a lot about project risk, because the risks, now that you have everyone in a remote environment, those risks just got a lot bigger. Hey, can I get this person? In terms of someone sitting in the office all together, you can have a quick discussion. But when everyone's all spread out and when they're operating on different times and certainly different family constraints, there's a lot of risk. And if you can't go to the customer's office, think about the ultimate risk: on-premises software. I mean, COVID crushed that. And it's just any of those sorts of pieces. So we love working with our customers. We're working with several right now from an early adopter phase, where we're coming at them with our use cases, but we're building use cases backwards as well from them. So yes, a lot of interesting stuff. More to come from us around that, as I probably have to keep my mouth shut about what customers have advised us to build, because we did promise them we would work on it first and let them take advantage of it. But I can tell you the use cases, and I kind of rattled them off: cash flow forecasting, project margin, project risk, time to staff, time to pay on elements. There's a lot that you can take in terms of data volume and just start thinking about where's the big honking spreadsheet that someone spends 40 hours, a month on. That's probably something that AI and analytics can help at least automate.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there's no question about that. Now, I realize often the companies can't speak about some of their customers for various reasons. Sometimes, you just explained a couple of them, wanted to keep things quiet because they want those features first. But are there any customers in Australia or globally that you want to very quickly highlight? I mean, you're in Australia. I understand you have a whole bunch of customers here, but again, I realize some of them want to remain anonymous for now.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that names that you probably recognize in Australia. We do a lot of work with nonprofit customers like Red Kite, who's out there doing really great work around cancer research, and they're leveraging our ERP. I just met with the TSA, engineering firm, where they're looking out. I think most tech projects, if you can look 2 quarters out, that's pretty good. They're looking out 2 and 3 years for those sorts of pieces. And as you might guess, there's probably some AI use cases where being able to look and understand decisions I'm making now have impact 18 months down the line. What are those pieces? And let me know them now instead of getting to being able to course correct is a lot easier 18 months back than it is 18 days from criticality. So there's pieces like that. You're going to see us work with some of the the big four and their Australian and entire APAC. So Sydney is our hub for all of Asia Pac. So we do work in Singapore, we do work here, we do work in New Zealand with a wide range of customers.
So is there anything else that we need to know about Certinia before I move on to some personal questions?
Sure. The big piece for us is that we really enable customers that take advantage of the Salesforce platform to get that true customer 360. It's great to just have your front office, but I think that's about 170 degrees of that circle. It's getting the rest of it, that back office, and having a single customer record that spans your entire organization, all your lines of business, front and back office together. I think it's the only way to really calculate things like customer lifetime value or customer acquisition costs. If I can understand every bit of the spend that we made on this AI marketing event and a really interesting customer I met with, I can allocate some of the costs that we put to it and understand what it means to actually make that customer happy and profitable. Because ultimately we need to do both. The days of pets.com and shipping those sorts of things are behind us. Growth for growth's sake, I hope it never comes back because it just isn't sustainable. It almost becomes ridiculous. So having that growth where it adds to customer value and adds to shareholder value, that's ultimately, to me, my nirvana.
And Salesforce is a huge platform. There's clearly plenty of customer opportunities there. But is that the only platform you'll ever work with? Will you ever, become independent or work with any other platforms?
I mean, short answer, I'm going to say no. I mean, it is our foundational platform, and it gives us a lot of advantages. You've mentioned that it's pretty broad, and it is. We've barely penetrated 20% of our ICP within the Salesforce ecosystem for companies like Certinia, software companies, SaaS companies, and for professional services organizations. I'm very confident in things like Salesforce's security, Salesforce's scalability, those sorts of pieces. For a company of 1,000 people like Certinia, to have that sort of technical platform lets us really focus not so much on blocking and tackling, but on innovation, and lets us punch way above our weight in terms of AI. They're doing, would you rather, if you're OpenAI, partner with little Joe Thomas or partner with Mark Benioff, right? There's a lot more credibility we can get around those sorts of pieces, which we get to, because of the innovation work that we do. Salesforce recognizes us as incredibly innovative using their technology. We get to ride their coattails. So no, I don't see us shifting. There will always be pieces that live off of the platform, but for us, it's foundational.
Yeah, 1 + 1. This is a multiplication, not an addition.
It equals 10 for us.
Yeah,
it's not 3, right? That's development work we don't have to do. So it makes our life much easier.
Now, you did have the roundtable session at the Data and AI Summit. So I'm wondering if you could just quickly recap it and what were some of the interesting questions posed by some of the attendees?
Sure. Our roundtable is really focused around collaboration around AI. And I think it's the challenge, the way I portrayed it. A lot of AI is what we in North America have called science fair projects. It's a lot of times it's children, and I think you have them in Australia, probably maybe not to the extent, but in 4th grade, one of your children will make a volcano out of paper mache and put vinegar and baking soda in it, right? And look, it makes a volcano. And then the joke I said in 8th grade, or a little older, middle school, you'll do something like a smart child will run around and swab all the dirty parts of the school, and you'll see that there's more mold on the classroom floor than there is in the bathrooms and those sorts of pieces. And then if you got a really smart kid in 11th or 12th grade, they're building robots and AI algorithms and those sorts of pieces, right? But what we see is a lot of AI is done not to drive business outcomes, but because someone's interested in it. They want to add to their resume. Their boss said, "What's our AI strategy?" And they're kind of doing these sorts of things, and there isn't a business use case. And that's kind of why we see those AI hype cycles. I think everyone gets excited about it. There's a lot of hue and cry about it, and then no real business value. So we're really trying to. Our approach, we think it's pragmatic in that it's actionable, it's closed loop, so it learns, and it's actually deployable by. You don't have to be Meta, Google, Netflix. They're okay. They're going to be able to do their own work. We're trying to help the 600-person consulting organization here in Australia, or the 1,200-person organization in Singapore that's focused on shipping and logistics. That sort of company, they're not going to call up. They don't want to bring in 8 data scientists and do that sort of work. The collaboration is to collaborate with your vendor. Put the onus on your application vendor. Understand what their roadmap is. If they don't have an AI strategy, maybe you should be looking at different vendors. And make sure that they're building those use cases not to have AI as a bright, shiny button, but to actually change behavior in your business and improve actual business outcomes. So there was a lot that we did around discussion. Really, the people we were talking with, they want to go even farther. They want to have their own industry collaborations. They want to see collaborations between industry and academia and technology. So I was pretty excited to see how a lot of times people have been somewhat closed, keeping things a little too close to the chest around what they're doing. I saw, at least here in the region, I didn't see that at all. I saw very much a collaborative, expansive, inclusive mindset around AI.
And as you were saying with your tagline, I mean, people were clearly being very pragmatic about it.
I think it's just we've seen too many hype cycles, and it's time to actually make this stuff work. And it's finally here. Chatbots are nice, but let's get some actual business outcomes from it.
Well, look, we've seen the multimodality of ChatGPT-4 and then GPT-4 Turbo. There was a leak of GPT 4.5, or at least supposedly indexed by a couple of search engines, and I thought they were going to skip 4.5 and go straight to 5. But given the fact that it can look at things and tell you how to use certain things in the photograph and in the manual, and really have that deep understanding, well, it makes you think that certain business problems will be right up its alley in terms of being able to sort of think through and see in the future. And obviously, that's what all that machine learning has been working on for many years. And couple it with the generative power of Gen AI, and we really are bringing science fiction to science fact. I mean, I cannot wait for that C-3PO style, assistant robot that follows you around, helps you with everything, but not just for housework, but all your business stuff.
Well, you've got C-3PO right behind you, but think about it. You've got C-3PO in your phone right now, because what is C-3PO? He's a protocol droid. He speaks 2 million languages, right? You've got that right now. I mean, I found it. I spent some time in Japan, and living in Japan in the 80s is I can only imagine now. I knew I was never going to be able to read or write kanji. I will never need to read or write kanji. I will just have to hold up my phone. And we've all got C-3PO in our pocket.
Yeah.
So
well,
we're seeing it already.
And the fact that the smart glasses are coming, I mean, you just have to look at something like you can with your phone right now. I have great pleasure in showing people who speak different languages that this is a possibility. A number of them know, but so many have no idea that it's possible. And they're like, wow, I mean, I go into one of those little Asian groceries and they've got all those packets of whatever it might be, and you can see what it is. It's a packet of chips, and you can even see the picture of the chili with it. But you hold it up, get it to translate from, Mandarin, well, Chinese, because Mandarin and Cantonese are the same languages, and it's all there on the phone. It's really quite incredible. Yes, protocol droid for sure. Now, Yeah,
it,
sorry,
it
go on.
it turns the grocery store into a food museum. It's like, oh, look at all these interesting things, and it's the whole world is open to you.
That's right, absolutely. Now, as we get towards the end of the interview, I always like to ask if you could please share a memory of your first computer.
Oh God. So I'm old. All right. I just had my 58th birthday this over the weekend. My
Happy
first
birthday.
computer, I took the first computing class at my high school, but my first computer was at the AT&T Labs. The first computer I ever got my hands on, AT&T Labs in the 70s, playing Hunt the Wumpus. My first computer at home was an IBM XT, and I was mad because we didn't get an Apple II because the good games were on the Apple machine.
They
The
were.
IBM thing, it was all VisiWord and VisiCalc, right? It was
Yeah.
these are business applications. I don't want to use these. One of my fondest memories is my best friend John had I'll call it a trash 80,
Yeah, the
but it was
Trash
the
80.
Radio Shack. It was the Radio Shack computer, and we upgraded it to 8K so we could play the cool games. Because 4K just with magnetic tape, cassette tape, the worst possible medium. I guess maybe punch cards might have been worse, but I didn't. I fortunately missed punch cards, but magnetic tape. Some of us are old enough to know how bad it was playing a tape in your car if you played it too often. Try that with your computer program.
Yeah.
Very frustrating. So my first computer class in high school was a year-long course. In the first semester, we built them. So Zenith heat kits, building basically IBM clones. It really took the fear out of the machine from me because no matter what software you write, you can't do as much damage as getting in there with a soldering iron. So it was a lot of fun. You built them in the first semester and you programmed them in the second. So I've been doing this. I've seen this a long time. I've been blessed to grow up in the Bay Area where I took War Games, the Matthew Broderick movie, as a guidebook, not as a cautionary tale. I hacked into Stanford's mainframe as a child. Statute of limitations, right? That's got to be over. But those sorts of things, it's that was my childhood. So I really enjoy it. I feel blessed to have been able to live in this space. I look at my children now. They the computer is the greatest gaming platform ever. I can only imagine what COVID would have been like for me as a whiny, teenager without the internet. My kids, they did very well during the internet because they still can communicate with their friends. They can interact with people. It's 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 a different world and arguably a better one.
Yeah, during COVID, we were very lucky to have the internet and broadband and all the rest because we could more or less keep on with life more or less as normal and then very quickly shift back to normal once it was all over. And in fact, I was watching one of the final scenes of War Games just the other day. It sort of popped up in my YouTube feed, and it was the scene where the computer is trying to figure out what the 10-digit launch code is. And Matthew Broderick is there trying to get the computer to play against itself, the tic-tac-toe game. It's like,
Right.
how do we get it to play itself? And you had to put the number 0. And it's playing itself and it's figuring out the last codes. And in the end, it says, the only way to win is not to play the game. And
Play.
yeah,
That's the only way. Yeah, global thermonuclear war. The only way to win is not to play.
yeah.
But more the fun of just the modem sound of
Oh, yeah.
1200 baud
Ah,
or 300 baud. My children just laugh. It's as if I was playing with sticks and rocks.
yeah. Yeah. Ah, look, I used to whistle that little sound all the time, but
Uh-huh.
what I was going to say was that the AI that was in the movie War Games and the way that it spoke back, I mean, back in the late 70s when that movie, or early 80s when the movie came out, it was total fiction. No one ever spoke like that to computers. There was no computer you could talk to like that. But of course today, well, kids
Well,
are born into a world where
Alex,
that's normal.
are you forgetting about Eliza?
Well,
I mean,
no. I mean, I had Dr. Spite, so I used Eliza. My first computer was in 1979 when I was 4.5 years old, the Exidy Sorcerer. At the time, you had the Apple I and the Commodore
Yep.
PET. No, I remember Eliza. But Eliza, of course, was
text,
just...
not voice. No voice to
It
text.
was text, and it was basically asking you the same question. It was turning what you said into a question.
Yep.
And yes, I mean, I remember the person who invented it, his secretary was like addicted to it, at least for a time, having a real chat. But I mean, the way that the computer was, shown to us in War Games, it was like chatting with Chat GPT today. And of course, people do speak with ChatGPT like it's a therapist, and you're
Right.
warned not to do that. But I mean, the kids today are born into a world where they do have an AI assistant that they can speak to like a human. I mean, they would look at war games and they would think, well, nothing unusual there. But for us, of course,
Yeah.
it was total science fiction.
Don't you have better games? Yeah, it's the yeah, you need better games on the system, right? That's it. Tic-tac-toe, boring.
Oh boy. So my second last question is to ask if you could please share some of the best advice you received in life to help you get where you are today.
I was blessed. So I've always had great mentors, and really it's to pay it forward, to take. No one gets anywhere where they are without someone giving them a hand, and the more that you can extend that hand to the next generation, the next people, that's it. It's I guess some humility is probably be humble and helpful is probably the nicest way to do it. The other piece is I also had a mentor who was one of the great raconteurs of tech. And his whole thing is if you go to a steakhouse, always order meat with a bone in it. So those are my two. Be humble and helpful, and get the steak that has a bone in it. Those are the two greatest pieces of advice that I've probably ever been given.
Well, there you go. I like the sound of both of those. So what is your final message to the viewers and the readers?
Yeah. Don't do this alone. Trying to do AI by yourself is going to be really, unless you're a super genius, unless you're Tony Stark, it's going to be really hard. Lean on your vendors because they're looking at what you're doing and what 99,000 other customers are doing, and put some onus on them and understand what they're doing and push them to tell you what they're doing. Don't let them just give you marketing hype. Make them show it to you and be part of it. Do it in a collaborative fashion. That would be my last sort of piece.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think that, we want explainable and contestable AI, but that's got to apply to the vendors selling the
Exactly.
AI. So,
No black boxes.
No
black boxes.
Well, Joe Thomas, Global Analytics Evangelist for Certinia, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and to explain all of this to everybody watching today. I do hope I can speak to you and your colleagues again in the future.
I hope so as well. Really enjoyable, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.